Hey guys, what's poppin'? My name is BluGreen Inc, and welcome back to the BluGreen Incorporated Zoo. In this episode, we're working on a little thing I call the Canid Café. Canid is a mammal of the dog family. So the cafe is going to feature two viewing areas for two different habitats that feature mammals of the dog family. Now, I'll get to the first animal in a second, but right now you can see I'm kind of trying to build this little staff area, which does not go well. I was trying to do a hexagon to follow the hexagonal theme, and it was just not working at all. So what I ended up doing was just completely deleting the hexagon and going for a square. Just something easy. Because it's just supposed to be a simple staff building to house the keeper huts for the two habitats, and it has a veterinary clinic in it as well, and a trade center, because the zoo needed a trade center, and I didn't like the idea of my keepers having to run super far just to get animals that I wanted close by, so I'm thinking the zoo is going to have multiple trade centers just kind of scattered throughout to make life easier. So here I'm putting together the Entry Stairway. I used the East Asia support beams. I really like the way the East Asia support beams look. I think they fit my theme very nicely, my theme of kind of having stone and wood and kind of a antique, I guess you could say, antique sort of theme. Yes, for those of you who are screaming at your screens, I realize that that path is completely guest paths and not staff paths, so I did end up going back at a different time and changing it to a staff path to make sure that guests don't wander back into the staff area. So here I'm putting together what ends up being the actual staff building. And I think it turned out really nicely. I think it fits the theme really well, and it looks very quaint. And it kind of it doesn't really fit one of the habitats, it fits the other habitat almost perfectly, but regardless, I think it turned out really well. I tried using the slate roof tiles, the slate roof tiles, but I prefer the vertical planks. And I didn't realize until recently, actually, that the vertical plank roof is recolorable, which is super awesome. But I've just been using the default black for this whole entire time I've been playing this game. So maybe I'll recolor the roofs at some point, but for now, with the color palette that I have, the black goes really nicely, so I think I'm going to keep it in most of my builds. I just added a window here, and I just put a piece of glass off the grid in there because I was worried the dogs might jump through the window and escape their habitat. So yeah, that's why I put that there. Now you can see I'm putting in a trim. It looked a little bit boring just by itself, so I put in this trim around the entire building. And by the entire building, I mean this staff building as well as the actual eatery itself. I think it turned out rather nicely, in all honesty. I just used the East Asia support beams as cornerstones, kind of. And as I said earlier, I really like the East Asia support beams. They look really nice. And I use them for a lot of things, as you'll see further on in the series. Actually, at this point in time, I've recorded up to episode 5, I think? So yeah, editing these has been taking me a long time. That and also my incessant procrastinating, and school being kind of difficult and me trying to keep up with that. But overall, I think it's going pretty well. I'm going to try and put out the episodes I've already recorded as soon as I possibly can, and then from there on out, it's probably going to be maybe one episode a week, if that, because I am really busy with school. I've just been cranking out like the builds, but this session for school is kind of getting more started, so I'm probably going to be taking more time to do my schoolwork, as I should. Oh, hello, Kit Kat. I thought I felt a little nose on my hand. Kitty. So, here I'm working on the, barriers for the habitats. I used no barriers and just used the regular walls to, enclose the habitat to keep the wolves from escaping. And I just gave away one of the animals. That animal is going to be in the next episode. This episode is actually going to be the African wild dog. So I figured African wild dogs and wolves are quite different from each other. Like, they're part of two completely different genuses. I think it's genuses that they're different. And they actually can't mingle with each other, if you know what I mean. So here I've actually started working on the proper habitat. Sorry if you heard that. That was me opening up my notebook. So here I'm working on the habitat for the African wild dogs. I just kind of made it look like there's a little canyon for them to... What do you want, Kit Kat? You want to say hello? No, you just want snuggles. Okay. So here I'm working on the African wild dog habitat, and for those of you who don't know, the African wild dog is also... Oh, cat. Okay, you can't be in my lap if you're gonna do that. Down. Ow. Claws. Down. You're a good kitty. So the African wild dog is an endangered species with a population of about 1,400 according to worldwildlife.org. I'm not sure how accurate that is anymore. But they're also called painted wolves. And conservation companies are trying to push the name painted wolf instead of African wild dog because the word wild dog has some negative connotations, so they're trying to fix that. So these animals are about 30 inches tall. They can weigh 40 to 70 pounds, which is equal to about 18 to 32 kilograms. And they can be about 30 to 56 inches long, which is the same as 76 to 142 centimeters. So they live in sub-Saharan Africa, which is mostly grasslands. And they're endangered because of ongoing habitat fragmentation, diseases that they get from domesticated dogs like mange and distemper and rabies. They often have conflict with human activities like poaching, and it's caused them to become one of the most endangered species in Africa. Now, African wild dogs are very interesting. They're very social creatures, and they have very strong family bonds with the members of their pack. And so their packs are extraordinary. They can be from 2 members to over 40 individuals, but generally a typical pack is about 10 members in it. So, within the structure of a pack, there's usually a monogamous breeding pair. That means there's a male and a female, and they're the dominant members of the pack. So a female can have a litter of 2 to 20 pups, and the pups are cared for by the entire pack. And African wild dogs have not only been known to care for each other's pups, but they've also been known to care for sick and injured pack mates. And while they heal, they've been observed mourning the loss of pack mates. Like when a pack mate dies, they've been seen showing visible, I guess, upsetness at this. I'm not really sure what it means when it says they've been seen mourning pack members. But in their communication, they use things like body language, actions, touch, and the vocalizations they have, they sound like birds, like they chirp. It's a really cool sound. You should be able to hear it in the end of the video. So, as far as conservation efforts are being made to increase the number of protected wildlife corridors that help connect the dogs' fragmented habitats. So they're like long strips of wildlife reservations where the dogs can't be harmed or anything like that. And there are conservation groups who are working to reduce conflict between humans and African wild dogs. So they're making awareness initiatives to bust myths about the creatures, and educational initiatives to help farmers get better at managing their livestock and reduce predatory attacks on their creatures. Although African wild dogs have been known to prefer hunting wild animals over hunting livestock. It's really interesting. Couple of fun facts: they have a top speed of 44 miles per hour, that's 71 kilometers per hour. Their territory size ranges from 250 to 930 square miles, that's 400 to 1500 square kilometers. They can't breed with wolves or dogs, as I said earlier. They can't be domesticated. They eat about 9 pounds of meat a day, and they only have four toes on each paw instead of 5 because they don't have a dew claw. Now, their dentition is specialized for a hypercarnivorous diet, which means they only eat meat. They don't ever eat anything else. And no two African wild dogs have the same coat. So they're kind of like zebras, whereas no two zebras have the same stripes. And I love these dogs. They're so amazing. They're so cool. They make the best vocalizations. Honestly, they're so... So yeah, those are just the facts about the African wild dogs. At this point, you can see I'm starting to finish up the habitat, adding in the vegetation and things. All that's really left to do is add in the enrichment. But I was just checking, to make sure everything's good and ready, set to go. And everything's pretty good according to the dogs. The only issue they really have with it is the space. It's a little small to fit 3 dogs, which I put in 2, but of course I leave room for a pup, and they usually have 1 pup. Sometimes they have 2 in this game. But other than that, everything is really good. They enjoy the cave I made for them. In the future, am going to make caves out of terrain instead of rocks, because the top of the cave does look a little bit awkward. Hopefully I did the vegetation. Hopefully I did the vegetation alright. I don't really know what their environment would generally look like. I looked up some pictures, but it's usually, from what I could see in the pictures, their environment looks like a lot of grass. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy, please hit the subscribe button. It helps me out a lot. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.